There is an electromagnetic field around you made of spinning electrons. You can, in many ways, and do in many ways, store energy slightly outside of your physical form there and can draw upon it later when you become more aware of how to make those electrons spin harmoniously, when they spin at the same rate all the time. Then they can act as a kind of a dynamo or a wheel, in a sense, that will store energy that you can tap into at another time.
How are you doing, Bashar?
Perfect, and you?
Perfect.
All right.
A couple questions for you.
Yes.
So my first question is that, in general, I'm living a very passionate life that I very much enjoy. There are a few aspects of my job that I sometimes wish were different, and sometimes I get frustrated when thinking about them.
Can you make them different?
What was that?
Can you make them different?
I think so. That's sort of what I'm struggling between. If I should attempt to change them, kind of push and change them, or if it's something that I need to sort of live into fully in order to transcend.
Well, again, yes. And again, you have to be honest with your self-examination. Are you the one dampening the excitement that could be in those portions of your job because you have certain belief systems that are not allowing you to figure out how to do them in a more exciting way? Or are they truly not representative of your excitement and can't be altered in any way, shape, or form according to the parameters of the job that would actually be representative of your excitement, which might be a clue that this isn't overall the job for you. So you have to make that determination within yourself, but always check with yourself first to make sure you're not the one dampening the excitement when it could be something exciting if you can open your imagination and do it in a more exciting way. So,
yeah, okay. So, it would, if it's something that I can't immediately change in my current, for the most part, I love my job. It's a small aspect I wish is different. And it's something I foresee I likely am going to need to be doing. What would your advice?
Well, what is your job?
I'm a high school teacher.
Yes.
And part of I work at a boarding school, and part of my job is that I have to coach certain sports. And there's a sport that I'm coaching this winter with an individual who I don't particularly enjoy working with, and there's elements of that specific part of my job I wish were different, and it's looking like I might not be able to change them.
All right, and why don't you enjoy working with that individual?
He's just much more intense than I am, and I would define him maybe as slightly angry and irritable and just energetically. I get along with him, but I get a feeling inside me, like I almost wish I was doing it on my own rather than with him. And then all
right. Is there not something you can do in your interaction that can help him raise his frequency? Can you not, in a sense, be disarming with him?
Yes, I certainly can, and I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to sift out right now is like what's the best way for me to step into this role.
All right. Well, I'm not saying this has to be it, but you could open up your imagination and think of a number of different ways you could interact with this individual. First and foremost, of course, not taking the irritation on yourself because you're creating that within your own energy. So the idea is you can attempt some experiments to adopt different aspects of your personality when interacting with that personality to become someone a little different than you are and approach him in a very different way that's more disarming. You may use humor to disarm the intensity of that individual. You may use some form of wisdom or sayings to disarm him, but the idea is to maintain your true personality so that you do not lower your vibration to match his, which is what causes the struggle within you. You have to approach this as if it doesn't affect you at all. You can look at this individual in a number of different ways, and we would suggest that you explore doing so. Step outside the bounds of what you think your personality is and see what else you may be able to become to interact with that individual. Become a little bit more like a chameleon and shift in whatever way allows you to feel the way you prefer to feel while allowing a portion of your personality to interact with him in a different way that may allow him to let go of the irritations and anger that he may be experiencing. And you can also have heart-to-heart with this individual, if you haven't done so, to let him know how it is he may be coming across, which he may not even understand. Have you had a heart-to-heart conversation with this person?
And to be fully clear, like, he's just one aspect of it. The other aspect...
I don't care. Don't avoid the question. Have you had a heart-to-heart with this person?
No, I have not.
Why not? What are you afraid of?
I guess it just didn't...
Do you remember that we have said that communication is one of the forms of abundance?
Yes.
This is exactly why. When you can clearly communicate in a loving way what it is that you perceive is going on, you may actually be capable of using that form of abundance to allow the other individual to have an opportunity to change themselves. Not that they have to, not that they will, but at least give them the option, give them the opportunity by allowing them to know how you are perceiving them, how others may be perceiving them. And therefore, they may not even realize how they're coming across, but you can give them an opportunity to know so. Again, doesn't mean they'll change. And again, it doesn't mean you have to feel affected by it. But if it persists beyond the idea of anything that you can do to help the situation be more creative, change in more positive ways, then you may have to determine that it might be possible that you need to be in a different location with different people to do what it is you're excited to do. This isn't the only job in the world where you can do what it is you're doing.
Right. Definitely.
So all of these options are available to you, but you actually have to use your power to act on them. Otherwise, you'll never know what could have changed.
Beautiful. And is this situation that I'm going into, I mean, I know the answer to this, but it's all here for me, right?
Of course. And for others. Again, it's not always a one-to-one reflection when you encounter someone who's nothing like you, but it is in your life for a reason because you may be able to help them.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, I have one or two more questions, if that's okay.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you can explain what is happening, like, energetically in my consciousness or one's consciousness when I experience feelings of guilt or unworthiness. What is happening to my consciousness when that's going on?
You are lowering your overall energy frequency, and you are slowing down the transmission of information along the neurological pathways of your body and your brain.
Interesting. Beautiful.
And your final question?
My final question is that I have a tendency to
choose.
Okay.
I choose. Yes?
Yeah. I often choose to seek approval of others, and I'm wondering what is an effective way to unlearn this.
Why do you care what others think? They're not living your life. You are. You can take advice when and where you feel it's appropriate to absorb it and apply it in your life, but you're the one that gets to decide what's true for you. So why do you care when someone who's not living your life tells you something or needs to approve you? Why don't you simply approve yourself?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And
Thank you. Do you have a good answer? What do you get? Here's the way you ask the question. What am I getting out of needing the approval of others that I'm not doing for myself? What am I getting out of it? Because you don't do anything that you don't believe serves you somehow. And sometimes that simply means that the alternative, because of your belief system, is too scary. So you stay where you are because it's familiar. So
I feel like
what are you getting out of it?
I feel like I'm often worried about making other people uncomfortable if I'm living my true self, that it's like too much for them. And so I'm
so what?
Yeah.
Again, if you're not doing something intentionally to harm them, intentionally to make them feel uncomfortable, if you're really truly being yourself to the best you can, then whatever they choose to feel is their choice. So why are you going to make your life conditional on someone else's issues? Is this helping?
No, yeah, it is.
All right.
Helping very much.
So ponder those questions for yourself and see if they still make sense to you, because when they stop making sense, you'll let them go.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Bashar.
You are welcome.
All right. Have a good day.
I absolutely will. You may too.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar. My name is Shauna, and I live in Salem, New Hampshire. I am still fairly new to your teachings. I've been listening in for about a year now. And there are a couple of things that you mentioned which I'm hoping that you can give me clarification on. One is the threshold of believability test. I've heard you mention that. And the other is permission slips. I have a fairly good idea of what you're talking about in regards to permission slips, but if you could clarify that definition, that would be fantastic. And the threshold of believability test, again, if you could clarify that definition so that I may start to notice more about myself and put this test into practice. Thank you so much, Bashar. Good day.
The threshold of believability test is if there is something that you recognize as your preference, but your belief system is saying that it may be a long time before you can actually experience it in your life, then the threshold of believability test is for you to start at a time when your belief system makes it easy for you to accept that it will happen. So in other words, for example, can it be possible? Can it be probable for this thing to manifest that I prefer in my life? No insistence, though. In 20 years, if there is absolutely no hesitation whatsoever to say, yes, I absolutely know for a fact that it's possible that 20 years is more than enough time for something like that to manifest in my life, then you go down the scale. Is it possible in 15 years? Yes, no problem. 10 years? Absolutely more than enough time, no hesitation, answering yes to that at all. 5 years? Not sure. As soon as there is hesitation, that's how long it will take with your present belief system. So you have to find out what belief is telling you that it has to take that long. And if you find that you can change that belief by identifying what it's telling you and changing the story behind it, then you take the test over again. 20 years, no problem. 15 years, no problem. 10 years, no problem. 5 years, absolutely no problem. 3 years? Well, if you hesitate again, even for a fraction of a second, now that's how long it will take with your present belief system. So look again at why you believe it would take that long for whatever reasons you're creating, and see if you can change that belief in a way that you actually know for sure that that's a way you can change the belief. You can't fool yourself. You have to really know that that's simple and it's easy to do. And you keep going down and down and down until you can go down and change anything no further. That's how long then it needs to take in order for you to experience the physical processes necessary for you to fully appreciate it when it manifests, because it will probably take a little time. Some things can happen more instantaneously, but in most cases you will need a process so that you learn what you need to learn, so that by the time that thing happens, you'll be able to handle it in the best possible way that serves you. So that is the threshold of believability. Now, a permission slip is simply any technique, any tool, any ritual, any object, any discipline, anything in physical reality that you believe will help you become more of who you are, because you're attracted to use it because you believe it aligns with your belief system and will actually allow you to circumvent that belief system to have a broader sense of what is possible for you. So if you're attracted to ideas like astrology or a crystal ball or tea leaves or anything like that, or a particular religion or what have you, or an object of any kind, it's because you believe it will help you do what you need to do to make the changes that you need to make. Now, of course, you're making the changes. The belief system and the permission slip, in that sense, are working hand in hand to make it seem easier to accept the change within yourself, but they're not actually doing it for you, the permission slip. It's just a way of saying, with this assisting me, I believe I can change. Ultimately, you realize you are the actual permission slip, and you can change in any way, shape, or form that you prefer to at any time without necessarily needing a ritual or an object to make it easier for you to do so. The transmission this day of your time is called the Shells of Earth. We are going to briefly describe the different layers or frequencies that are closely connected to your physical reality and in which different kinds of experiences can be had. Of course, you have the physical shell, which you are very familiar with as physical beings having a physical experience, but with a slight shift in frequency, you can experience what we call the elemental shell. And the elemental shell is where you meet elemental beings, elemental expressions of consciousness, such as pukas, fairies, sylphs, silkies, flaming salamanders, and many other representations that elemental consciousness has the ability to present itself in. Now, these shells don't really move outward per se. That's just the way you might experience them a little bit in physical reality from your space-time perspective. They're all right here, like everything is, but they're just slightly different frequencies that are still very strongly connected to physical reality. So by allowing yourself, in whatever way works for you, through meditation, through other exercises, to imagine and ponder and get in touch with the idea of these different frequencies, based on whatever symbols you already understand them to be, you will connect and be able, if you practice, to communicate in different ways with the different forms and expressions of consciousness that can present themselves to you in these different frequency shells. So, as we said, there's the physical, now there's the elemental. Elemental beings are kind of like a part of the overall energy of the earth, but they don't have to necessarily continue in a particular form. They're much more flexible, much more malleable in how they present themselves. They can present themselves as very solidly physical, but it's more like they're on a level that's akin to the idea of moldable clay, where they can go back into the energy and disappear, become non-physical, or at least quasi-physical, in a way that you cannot perceive them, and then they can crystallize themselves in some physical form, and that's why they can also be shapeshifters, taking many different forms. So by focusing on whatever affinity you have in a relaxed state, an open-minded state to the elemental shell, and practice this on a regular basis, you can develop more communication, more awareness, more ability to perceive elemental beings, maybe even slightly before they make themselves more solid, because you can extend your senses by following the formula, and that makes you more capable of seeing things that are invisible to you now, but can become visible to you as you extend the sensitivity of your senses. So by interacting with the elementals, you can gain a deeper appreciation and understanding of your place in nature by relating to their place in nature within the elemental shell, and you can become more flexible in your experience of space and time by forming that relationship with the elementals. After that, there is the frequency of the etheric shell, and this is what includes the idea that you typically refer to as the lower astral realm. While that may seem to be the idea of a realm or a frequency or a shell that is completely in spirit, it actually has a lower frequency component that connects directly to physical reality. It's a borderline, a borderland, in which spirit beings can also make themselves appear to be relatively solid, or at least to some degree visible. This is where the idea of ghosts reside. So the etheric shell is what allows, in its frequency, a spirit being to lower its frequency to be closer to the idea of the physical shell, the physical frequency, while not completely actually being so. But the lower astral realm, the etheric shell, can allow them to present a representation of themselves as physical, because it's a low enough frequency, close enough to physical reality for you to be able to perceive them. Especially, again, if you raise your vibration even just a little bit, you can not only perceive the elementals when they make themselves come closer to physical reality vibrations, but also the idea of spirits who may take on the qualities of the etheric shell in the lower astral frequency to make themselves visible and appear very solid and even be touchable to you while still remaining in spirit. It's just that they're using the vibration of the etheric shell to imprint themselves a little bit more into your physical reality experience. Then, beyond the elemental and etheric shells, you have the archetypal shell. This is where consciousness resides and presents itself in kind of a small series of group collectives that represent symbolically different attributes of beings. So it's a more of a symbolic representation, but you can still experience many of the representations of consciousness as if they are, in many ways, physical beings, but these are more representative of qualities. So you can create the idea of what you call God or goddess presentations, even angelic presentations. The idea, again, being that they're imprinting themselves in the archetypal shell to represent a certain quality or experience of energy. In other words, examples like motherhood, fatherhood, childhood, or the idea of elemental ideas, not in the same elemental shell, but the idea of the old concepts of elemental ideas. The sun, the moon, water, fire, earth, air. These kinds of things are presented in the archetypal shell, which is a symbolic representation, but can take on physical representations that would be familiar to you. They can look like human beings, they can look like demigods, they can look like the elements themselves, like a fire being, a water being, an air being, an earth being. They can take on many natural qualities to symbolically represent an entirely large concept that builds up the concept of physical reality in components. So you have the idea of, as I said, the earth vibration, the fire vibration, the spirit vibration. These things take on this quality of being archetypal symbols that represent whole entire concepts or directions or qualities of things that are close to your experience of physical reality. Then beyond the archetypal shell, there is the collective shell. And this means simply the collective consciousness of your entire planet, everything on it, not even just humans, but everything on it. The trees, the rocks, the sea, the animals. And it gives you an opportunity to experience your way of connecting to the cosmos while still retaining a connection in a grounded state to physical reality. The collective consciousness has been represented through different beings, through ascended masters and various teachers throughout your history, being that they would tap into that collective and sort of channel it to you. Beings like Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, Vavoka, so on and so forth, Mary. All of these kinds of beings in various forms have been able to tap into the collective of your planet, the higher mind of all of you, so to speak, to bring through information, to share information. But of course, this doesn't mean that each and every one of you can't tap into this on your own. To access the collective information that you may require here and there, now and then, to apply in your lives in a way that allows you to be more balanced, more positive, more powerful, more energetic in your expression of physical reality. So you have these different shells, and there are others, but the ones that go beyond the collective are not as closely connected to your physical reality. They then include the idea of going into spirit, higher dimensions, so on and so forth. And it doesn't mean, again, you can't tap into them, but these shells, the physical, the elemental, the etheric, the archetypal, and the collective, are the ones that are the vibrational levels most closely associated to your experience of physical reality, and on which you rely, whether you know it or not, on which you tap into, whether you know it or not, more often than not, to guide you in life and to experience the connections that you may feel to nature and the collectivity of your entire species and your reality as you experience your journey on Earth. So allow yourself to practice this by opening up in your imagination, whether through a meditation or whatever technique you wish. Even gardening can do it because you're close to the earth and close to nature and start to feel yourself as connected to nature. And even the idea of the cryptic meditations that Willa has delivered to all of you will aid and assist you in getting in touch with the elemental level and maybe even the etheric, because again, physicalized spirits of the lower astral are also part and parcel of the cryptic and nocturnal journeys. Then you can go into parallel realities at another time. But first, gain some insight and gain some familiarity with the etheric shell and the archetypal shell and the collective shell, along with the elemental and the physical. And you will feel more things happening synchronistically that contain and include experiences within those shells, so that you broaden and enrich your experience of physical reality beyond the physical shell, but only into those shells that include the ability to connect to physical reality in a way that serves you best in life, on your path, on your journey of being more of who you truly are. We thank you for allowing us to share this idea with you today. And in return for the gift you have given us of interacting with each and every one of you, we ask now, with your questions and dialogue, how may we be of service to you? Then at this time, we will proceed with the idea of your meditation. Allow yourselves to become very relaxed. Let go of the cares of the day. Let it all flow away, and let your light flow into you and expand throughout you. And allow yourself to open your minds and imaginations to the idea of the different shells of Earth. Again, these are simply different vibrational states that represent different levels of consciousness that are connected to your planet, to your people, to nature, in a variety of ways. So let yourself simply be familiar with the idea, first and foremost, of course, of the physical shell, in a calm, relaxed, natural way. The beauty of it, the nurturing of it, of nature itself, the warmth of it, the coolness of it, all the things that to you represent the most positive qualities of physical reality. When you allow yourself to feel that vibration expanding within you, then let your imagination take it a little bit farther up the vibrational scale in frequency and pierce into the idea of the elemental shell, where there is a free-flowing consciousness that can allow itself to crystallize here and there in different shapes, different presentations and representations, to interact with each and every one of you in ways that will stimulate your consciousness, allow you to see things differently than you ever have before, may send you down new paths of experience and understanding. Allow yourself to know that those elementals are always there. You may not always see them, but you may feel them, until such time as you allow yourself to equalize your vibration with the elemental shell, so that they can become quasi-visible, which will act for them as more of an invitation to become more solid and more visible to you. So allow yourself to think of them as being just right on the edge of physical reality as you know it. Doesn't take much of a vibrational shift to experience them. Then allow yourself to open up to the etheric shell, in which you can have communications and conversations with spirits, with beings that may once, in your terms, linearly have been alive on your planet and are no longer, your spirit guides, friends and family that have passed on, who may be able now and then, when appropriate, to take on a physical form representation to interact with you more solidly, in that lower astral realm that vibrationally is very strongly connected to physical reality. Allow yourself to allow your mind to go into, your imagination to go into that etheric realm where the spirits can make themselves known to you, and you can have the communications that will let you know that nothing has been lost, that the relationships still exist, that you can learn and play together on and on eternally, no matter what state of being anyone may be in. And then allow your imaginations to broaden and allow your vibrations to rise into the archetypal shell that allow you to commune with the gods and goddesses, with the symbolic forms of shamans, with lightning and thunder, and even with the beginnings of the Kachina beings, the spirit beings that exist between dimensions, for they can partake of the archetypal shell to present themselves in ways that make sense to the symbols of your physical mind, so that you can learn to have a different style of communication in symbolic form, and open up your telepathy and telempathy with them to really let in the idea of the symbols that represent your path in life, so that you can learn a language that is more simplified, more telepathic, so you can move forward and expand your vibration in a very different way, and learn more about the path that you are above and beyond the physical reality, and how different groupings on your planets with different agendas and different goals can sometimes be a way that archetypal consciousness has of presenting itself by bringing together people of like mind for different purposes that are their passion, and in those groupings to represent an archetypal ideal, an archetypal path, an archetypal energy that can guide you by being familiar with your particular ideas, your particular passions, and you gather together and attract to you magnetically all the beings of like mind, and thus contain within that grouping a powerful archetypal presentation of a higher energy that will allow you to move forward in an effortless, efficient way. And then continue to expand your consciousness to incorporate all of the ascended masters and teachers that have brought through the collective consciousness to let you all know you are equally powerful, that your vibration can raise to a high point of fourth density reality where you have strong connections to all that is in a variety of ways that are relevant and germane for your physical path, to be teachers yourselves and learners yourselves on your path, as your path, to share with others that which you know will serve them, which will allow them to illuminate their own inner spark and broaden it and shine it forth. Whether they take it or not is not the issue, for it's none of your business whether they do. But to be of service to the collective whole, in love and light, in peace and harmony, in beauty and grace for all concerned, so that all may tap into that collective and be who they truly are, be the piece of the big puzzle picture that they were made to be the shape that is true for them, so that all may fit together in harmony with every other piece and form the big picture that supports all the pieces, even as the pieces support the big picture. Allow yourselves to let your vibrations rise according to what is needed at any given moment, dynamically shifting back and forth from shell to shell, or incorporating all the shells depending upon what it is you are doing and who it is you are being, and what aspects of yourself you are bringing to the forefront of your experience as a physical persona. Let it harmonize and blend with all the other aspects of your personality in whatever ways, again, serve you and everyone best. Let it all fall into place automatically through the beauty and the archetype of synchronicity, which permeates all of the vibrational energy of your reality. And it is one of the main structures of your reality itself. For everything is an orchestration. Everything is synchronicity. It just depends on how you're looking at it. That reveals what you need to see out of the holographic whole that synchronicity is. For synchronicity is physical reality's way of letting you know that everything is connected, and that distance and separation are illusions. Use them to your benefit, but do not let them rule the structure of your consciousness in a way that prevents you from tapping into whatever you need at any given moment. For physical reality is a projection of your consciousness. In a sense, is an illusion that you can use to your benefit if you understand the power of the illusion instead of falling under the illusion of power. Let yourself drift and dream in this understanding and feel your vibrations shifting and rising and focusing on whatever shell is germane for you, is important for you, is relevant for you at any given moment, and interact with the forms of consciousness therein. They are there to serve you. You are there to serve them. Let yourself drift and dream and become more lucid in the concept of the physical dream, so that you become more lucid in all the different shells that allow you to dream the dream awake and aware as you move through life. The life that is you, the unique you, the aspect of you that is the reflection of all that is in this unique way. Breathe it in and make it your own. Our unconditional love to you all, our deep appreciation and gratitude to you all. Allow yourself and the shells within you to blend and harmonize as they need to, so that you may be more of who you truly are and shine forth as a living example to others, that they can also choose that path as well in their own unique way. Be here, be now, be at peace, and welcome home. We bid you good day.
Hello again, Bashar, and thank you for your answers to my previous questions. You said in a previous transmission that the hybrid children sometimes like to play a game called Find the Portal, and I was wondering if we humans can also play this game, and what do we need to do to be a better energetic match to being able to play this game? And is any technology used to help play the game, and do the rules change as the children get older? Are there different rules for the younger children, the older children, the teenagers, and so on? Thank you very much. That is all. Good day.
The answer to all of that is yes. The idea, of course, again, as following the formula refines your senses to make you more sensitive to certain kinds of energies, thus making it easier for you to find the idea of the nexus of any vortex or portal. But yes, as you change, as you mature, as you develop, and including the hybrid children, the so-called rules of the game will also change, because they develop more skills, more abilities, and can expand the idea of what the game is and what it contains. So if you want to call the rules something that changes with the maturation of any particular being, because now you can do more, have more abilities, have more skills in the game, then yes, those rules will change.
Good day, Bashar.
Good day.
Shabbat.
What would you like to discuss?
Concerning the frequency of the individuals who are inherently experiencing a negative portion of reality and consciousness. When an individual incarnates in order to be a representation of the so-called negative frequencies or properties of the overall collective experience, what is the best way for them to go about it? For instance, an individual who is to give the collective an experience of addiction or an experience of infatuation to the point of detriment. How is one to go about a life that is inherently negative?
the idea, of course, is that anything can be used in a negative or positive way. No matter what an individual does in their state of being, others can use it to their own advantage if they so desire. That being said, all an individual has to do is choose circumstances and attract situations that constantly prevent them from becoming more aware of the fact that they are choosing that reality instead of simply feeling like a victim of it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Another question. What psychedelic resonant with this planet would be closest to the Eshikani frequency?
Dimethyltryptamine.
I have noticed that it is very hard to get away from oneself when experiencing that level of self.
Yes.
And one more question. I have an intense desire to be a part of the growth experience and the first contact experience of the Eshikani and the human race.
Well, you're having contact with us at this point, so obviously you already are a part of it, or we wouldn't be talking.
Yes. And in what way could I possibly look into being a vessel for the communication directly from a member of the Eshikani to bring forth an even clearer message in my life of connection and contact?
If you're asking that kind of a question, you should already know the answer, which is?
Follow my passion and my bliss to the highest degree of my ability with no insistence on the outcome.
And finish the formula.
To the
You've only stated 3 parts of it.
Bring me clarity, Bashar.
You act on your passion to the best of your ability with no assumption or assistance on the outcome, and you remain in a positive state so that no matter what occurs, no matter what manifests from your actions, you can use it to your advantage and gain the benefit from it. Simultaneously, investigating with honesty your belief systems and letting go of the ones that are out of alignment with who you prefer to be.
Yes. I can honestly say there's nothing else to ask. I will get on that immediately.
All right. We thank you. Good day.
Bye.
Aveo.
Hi, Bashar. This is Pira from Detroit, and I have a question for you about fracking and the negative effects it has on the Earth currently and in the long run. Thank you. Ha'atu.
Anything in that sense that is invasive within the structure of the Earth may have long-term detrimental effects. Again, the idea is to find other sources of energy, such as the electromagnetic field of your planet, such as higher dimensional frequencies that can be downgraded, so to speak, or stepped down through transformer-type structures into energy that you can use with your technology. So we would always suggest that you aim in the direction of those more natural sources of energy that are without the detrimental effects to the idea of the planet in a non-invasive way.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi.
Good day.
I have so 2 big topics or questions that I wanted to go over.
Yes.
The first is the story of Adam, Eve, and Lilith.
Yes.
I was wondering if maybe you can shed some light on that, and did these people actually exist?
Well, in a manner of speaking, yes, although the story, you know, in a sense, has been rendered into something simplified as a tale, as a metaphor. The idea of, in the ancient language of the Anunnaki, that injected their genetics into Homo erectus to create Homo sapien, is that the male version of Homo sapien they created in their language is Adama. The female version is Eva, which you have transliterated into Adam and Eve over time. So the idea is that, of course, there was a first male and a first female, but the idea has been truncated, collapsed, condensed into the metaphorical story that you know in your Bible. Lilith represents again the idea of the continuation of the line of Homo sapien in the genetic alterations by the Anunnaki, and represents kind of the concept of independence, the ultimate independence of the human race, and the balance point that needed to be achieved when it was recognized that Homo sapien had been created, and offered the third alternative. As always, we talk about the idea that there is a trinity in existence, not just a duality. So the concept of Lilith and the feminine principle in balance, the masculine and feminine principle in balance in Lilith, creates the midpoint, the third reality, the balance point in the trinity between the two dualities of male and female.
And why is it that Lilith, it seems to be that she was taken out of the modern version of what we learn?
Because as a patriarch, he grew and wanted to reinforce the idea of male dominance, the concept of the balance point of male and female in one body was anathema to them. And they sought to remove it so that they would retain control and empowerment over others and over the female side.
Okay, and that's interesting. And was this all done in a laboratory in Temple Mount, at Temple Mount?
There were many different labs around your planet, but the primary one was in the Middle East. The idea, again, is that, remember, this wasn't all done all at once. This took some time. So the idea of this story is quite condensed, and it condenses many, many decades, even hundreds of years of time in the creation of Homo sapien.
Okay. The Garden of Eden, can you shed some light on what that was and maybe where it was?
Well, again, in the Middle East, as given, between what you call the Tigris and Euphrates rivers in the Fertile Crescent, being the primary contact point and laboratory and civilization that the Anunnaki established when they came to Earth and spread out from there.
Okay. And the serpent that came to Eve, who or what was this?
This is simply an indication of the awakening of the genetic markers that would allow the female to be closer to the concept of the original Anunnaki genetic structure. This is why you have the double intertwined serpents on your medical caduceus still today, as an indication of the genetics laboratories and the genetics that were injected into Homo erectus to create Homo sapien, being that in the feminine side there was an alteration that allowed the feminine side to become a little bit more aware of the situation than the masculine side, and a little bit closer in expression to the original Anunnaki genetic strain.
That's interesting.
It also represents, therefore, the idea of ancient knowledge, that in a sense, because of the genetic alterations in the feminine form, there was more capability of accessing the knowledge of the Anunnaki.
That's fascinating. And in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, the Anunnaki, is that translated into Elohim?
For the most part, yes. Although the Elohim can also be other beings that were encountered from time to time, but in general, it's a reference to the ancient Anus, yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Bashar.
Yes.
And on another topic, so I seem to be obsessed with this story. I think it's the most exciting story, spectacular story, the story of Exodus.
Yes, yes.
Did the Jews know that were they aware that it was aliens that were taking them out of Egypt, or?
Not as such. They didn't really comprehend the concept of aliens in the same way that you do today. They understood that the beings were from a higher dimensional realm,
But the idea to them at that time, in their understanding, is what they ultimately decided was beings from heaven, beings from above.
Is that what? So right now in our reality, it's kind of, we think that it's God that led the Jews out of Egypt and not actual beings. And was this what they wanted us to believe, or was it just a misunderstanding and it just kind of...
It is not that you were given information that would allow you to necessarily understand the specifics of it. So it is something that simply grew in human understanding over time based on the lack of information you had about exactly what these beings were, because they did not deem that humans were ready to understand the full implications of beings from other civilizations among the stars.
And do you think we are now?
Well, you obviously understand that there can be civilizations among the stars. You're talking to one right now.
I am.
Many people on your planet are willing to accept the possibility, at least, that there can be other civilizations on planets around other stars. This is not something that is necessarily that strange to your civilization anymore. You talk about it quite a bit in your scientific and astronomical communities.
True. Yes. And more.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could describe, I would really like to know what the interaction was like between Moses and the ETs at the top of Mount Sinai.
Some of it was physiological, some of it was telepathic. He was invited into a craft. Many things he was made to forget, but some things he was allowed to remember, as according to what was necessary for the proper approach and interactions and relationship between those beings and the people at that time so that they could be guided.
And lastly, the Star of David, where did that come about, and why is it the symbol of the Jews?
It is the symbol of the relationship between those beings and those people, and in general between the above and the below. It is the intersection of the higher dimensions with the lower physical reality. It is a flattened form of the Merkaba.
Okay, so why wouldn't it be just the symbol of humanity? Why not the symbol for all of us?
It is, as I said. I just said that. At the time, it was the symbol of the relationship between those specific beings and the group that they were guiding. But it is, in general, the symbol of the relationship from the above to the below, from the heavens to the earth.
Okay. And one last hard question. Why did they save the Jews from Egypt, but they didn't protect them or save them in World War II from the Holocaust?
It was important to allow certain genetics from the Anunnaki line to survive up to a certain point. But beyond that, once there was dominion of the humans of the earth to make their own decisions, their decisions could not be intervened or interfered with beyond a certain point.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, so on to some other questions. This is a question about self-forgiveness. This person is saying that when they were a teenager, they made a mistake that haunts them. While they were never formally punished for it by the legal system, they've done a lot to look at it and learn from it and try to move forward. Most of the people that they've spoken to have reflected that you should forgive yourself and let yourself move forward. But I still wonder if I've been punished or if I've paid for it enough. I don't want to put myself in a negative position like that for a mistake that they made almost 20 years ago, but they're not sure how to fully just forgive themselves. How might you recommend that people navigate this situation where they feel like they've made past mistakes and they're still holding on to or still hanging over them in some way?
Well, they are simply creating a belief system that makes them afraid to move forward. because they are afraid they might make another mistake. But the idea is that if you're learning the lessons from the mistakes you have made, then that gives you the ability to learn from those lessons what to do and how to move forward to be of service to humanity. The longer you hold on to the idea of self-recrimination and self-punishment and self-judgment, then the longer you will wait to be able to utilize what you have learned from making that mistake, the lesson that you could apply in your life that would allow you to move forward to be of service to humanity. So you are holding back your service to humanity. You are holding back sharing the gifts that you potentially have to give because you are too busy using your time to continue to punish yourself and judge yourself negatively for simply having done something that allowed you to learn a lesson that would actually allow you to be of service to humanity. So you're creating a kind of self-referential, self-continuous loop of negativity by not using the lesson to move forward and be of service to humanity in the way that you could, knowing that if for some reason you do make a mistake in the future, it is simply something else that you can learn a lesson from that would enhance your ability to continue to expand your service to humanity if you're willing to use it that way, if you're willing to see it in that light.
Okay, and you've mentioned how different vibrational levels are needed to comfortably interact with different ET races. For example, is the level needed to interact comfortably with a Sasani somewhat higher than what's needed to interact with the Yael in the same way?
Yes, because the Yael are designed to be the ones, along with the hybrid children, that will interact with humanity first. And therefore, while their vibration is still higher in general than humanity's on average, it is closer to your vibration so that there will be more vibrational compatibility when open contact occurs between humanity on Earth and the Yael civilization.
Okay. And,
so bit by bit, in being exposed to the different vibrational levels of different hybrids and different ETs, in a sense, your exposure to the different levels, starting with something closer, and then getting another level that is a little higher, and another level that is a little higher, gives humanity an opportunity to adapt to those different levels and climb the ladder of the vibrational frequencies to make you more vibrationally compatible with the next group of ETs that you would naturally encounter.
Okay. And are the preparers, the humans who play a special role in supporting open contact, or the human precursors, genetically modified towards the vibration of the hybrid beings? And if so, how? And how will their role change and accelerate as it comes closer to open contact? Do
We
all
cannot
these beings
talk so much about this at this time, although to say adjustments have been made in your genetics that allow you to channel more frequency through yourselves as preparers that will make you more vibrationally compatible with the hybrids that will first come in contact with humanity. At this time, we are not allowed to discuss this further.
Okay, and do all these beings know they are preparers?
No.
Okay. And can every soul on Earth move or incarnate to different planets and other lives, or are a portion of us bound to only incarnate on Earth? How can we move to the planets or realities or Asasani?
You can do whatever you wish. Again, once you are back in your natural state as a soul, you will realize the reasons fully for why you chose an Earth incarnational experience or why you may choose another civilizational incarnational experience. It will all make sense to you, and you will simply decide at that time whether or not you wish to experience another Earth incarnation or something else. You have free will as a soul, but you will make those decisions with new information that you don't have now. So it will make more sense to you. Whatever it is you do choose, it will make perfect sense to you to choose it at that time. So you're not bound by it, but you will decide based on what you actually wish to learn and wish to experience. You have the free will as a soul to do so.
Okay, and do you ascribe special meaning to the word relevant? You frequently use this word, and the way you use it seems to be a little bit different from the way it's usually used by humans on Earth.
It is not so different. It simply means that you have chosen to experience certain things on your soul path of growth. And there are things that are relevant for that experience and things that are not relevant for that experience. You have a physical mind that can think beyond your soul's path and think that certain things might be able to be experienced as part of your soul's path, even if that's not necessarily the way that your spirit has chosen to experience your soul's path. So there can be things that are relevant for your soul's path that do fit what you wish to experience as a soul, and there may be things that your physical mind can conceive of that are simply not necessarily relevant for your soul's path. Sometimes this is the product of the negative ego, being allowed more than what it is assigned to do, more than what it's designed to do, thinking, oh, well, I could do this and I could do that. And in fact, it may not actually be necessary for you to experience and may not be part of the plan that you arranged or the blueprint that you arranged for your life's path as a soul. So things can fit into that path, things cannot fit into that path that you can conceive of, and therefore there's a degree of relevance to those things.
Okay, and final question. What is the one thing we can do each and every day to lessen the suffering in our world?
Be of service to others as best you can. Help where you can, knowing that showing others that there may be a more positive way to experience life, to put them in touch with their self-empowerment, to allow them to feel their connection to Source as an expression of Source, can be done as best as you can do it, but you have to let them decide how to absorb that information or even to receive it and accept it at all. Because you have to see them as powerful beings that have a life path that you know nothing about or very little about, but still understand that there may be a reason why they're in your life. And that may be for the benefit that you can share with them of other ways to do things that may be more beneficial to them. Whether or not they choose to take it is up to them. So do the best you can to help where synchronicity provides an opportunity for you to do so. Take the actions necessary that you would take if you were already living on a world of joy, peace, love, and connection, and just do the best you can to stay in that state, acting on your passion, following the formula, and being of service where you can. That's the best you can do.